Hello all, this is the Unplayable Podcast. A bit of an unplanned episode today, but a bit of news regarding the Australian team, so we thought we'd jump right into it. My name is Josh Schonafinger, chatting to Jack Paynter, who's in Barbados at the minute. And Jack, today, Friday, the 20th of June, Australia have made some changes to their Test 11. Why don't you tell us what they are?
Yes, Josh. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, very unusual. Five days out from the start of the test, and we have some confirmed changes to the 11. So Sam Konstas will come in, presumably to open, we suspect. Josh Inglis also returns to the side with Steve Smith out. And the big one, big change, of course, is Marnus Labuschagne has been omitted from the side following the World Test Championship final. So, some big moves there, and early moves from the Aussies ahead of the first test against the West Indies.
Yeah, so why don't we start with Smith? So he hurt his finger in the last test attempting that catch off Temba Bavuma, wasn't it? So what's the latest there? Is he going to be right for the rest of the series after this?
Well, he's a chance. The news is there was no surgery required, so he had a compound dislocation, which means that the dislocation pierced the skin, so there was a wound. So he didn't require surgery to stitch it back together, which is a good thing in his recovery. But the wound was expected to take 2 weeks to heal, so that puts him at Friday week, which is day 2 of the second test in Grenada. So he could potentially return for that match if he can tolerate batting while wearing a splint. He's got to wear a splint for up to 8 weeks. So it'll just be touch and go at training over the next week or so as to how he goes batting, what his feel is like with his hands. And we know how much that matters to him when he's batting. So yeah, it'll just be, I guess, how much he can tolerate batting with the injury.
And I suppose fielding as well as another thing. He's such an important member of the slips cordon. So if he's not comfortable catching as well, that's probably going to impact that decision as well, I imagine.
That's right. Yeah, I guess the positive there is, Australia have some very good slippers in the side at the moment in Bo Webster and Cameron Green. Usman Khawaja fields at first slip. So they've got a fair few options there if they need to hide him. But obviously, missing Smith out of that cordon is a bit of a blow as well, considering, his record across the years and, the number of screamers that we've seen him take. But yeah, I reckon if push came to shove, they'd be able to cover him in the slip cordon. It's just where you put him in the outfield after that, I guess.
Yeah. And of course, also a very important member of the leadership team as well. Now, Marnus Labuschagne, he's the big one that it's been announced that he's been left out of this side. He's played 53 consecutive tests leading into this one for Australia, which is the most out of any Aussies. The next best is actually Steve Smith with 51. He's out as well. Jack, do you want to have a guess who the next most consecutive games is in this current side?
Well, it won't be much of a guess, I don't think, because I think you told me before, but Alex Carey, is that the one?
Yeah, that's right. Alex Carey sitting on 40 straight. So he's next in line now. The all-time record, of course, is Alistair Cook with 159 and Alan Border 153. So they're way out ahead of these guys. But, Alex Carey might get there.
Well, as you were saying, that was in the Cummins era, that the Carey 40 tests. So they've played all the tests since Cummins took over as captain, and not even Cummins had managed that. So quite remarkable.
Yeah, that's right. Now Marnus Labuschagne is out. He's obviously been Australia's number 3 for so long. He's had a really tough last World Test Championship cycle, you'd say, with only 1 century in there. How does it sort of shape this batting order now, and what will the fallout from this Labuschagne decision be?
Well, I think it gives a bit of a clean slate, doesn't it? Because you had put Marnus up to open for the World Test Championship final, which was kind of a forced move with trying to get Cameron Green back in the side while also playing Bo Webster as the all-rounder. So I guess this kind of opens the door for them to rejig that potentially. Obviously, Konstas will bat at the top because that's his preferred position, your partner, Usman Khawaja. And then it leaves, 3, 4 open as well with Smith going out of the side through injury. Can't see Travis Head moving from number 5 unless they decide that it's going to be an absolute Bunsen burner, which Barbados typically isn't known for. So and Webster at 6. So I guess it leaves those 3 and 4 spots to, do they put Green back to 4 where he batted in New Zealand and against the West Indies last time and slot Inglis at number 3? Potentially. That's probably the most logical move, but it will just be up to them, up to selectors, I guess, where they see Green and Inglis fitting in that order.
Yeah, okay, so it's probably between those two for 3 and 4, isn't it? Maybe they have one innings each and see who does the best. What does it mean for Marnus Labuschagne now, do you think, Jack?
Well, George Bailey made it very clear when announcing this news this evening, Barbados time, that Marnus at his best is still in the future of the Australian side. They think he's a real asset, when he's batting his best. And you look at his numbers between 2019 and 2022, he averaged between 56 and 67 in those years, and then sort of gradually fallen away since then. But I think it was more the nature of the dismissals as well, which was concerning in the World Test Championship final. You got to start in both innings, look to get through that new ball, and then just got a bit bogged down, and you got dragged outside the off stump, pushing it. Marco Jansen both innings and getting caught behind in both knocks. So I think it's just he's sort of stuck in that bit of a bog outside off stump where he just gets drawn into playing at certain balls. So I think it could be good for him in a sense to sort of go back to the drawing board, reset, work on a few things without the pressure of having that selection hanging over his head. So who knows how the rest of this tour will play out, how Inglis or Cameron Green or Sam Konstas will go, but it could be a blessing for him to sort of go back and work a few things out and then come back bigger and stronger than ever. We saw that happen with Usman Khawaja as well. He's come in since the 2021-22 Ashes and hasn't missed a beat. He'd be the next on that list of consecutive tests almost, I think. So could be a real sort of moment to help Marnus get out of this sort of form slump and back to his best.
Yeah, as you say, if you cop a good delivery earlier in your innings, you just sort of say, oh, well, that's cricket. But he did get a start in both of the innings in the World Test Championship final and wasn't able to go on. So maybe a sign that, he's a bit out of touch at the minute. Let's look at the bowling attack, Jack. George Bailey didn't sort of give any indication, did he, that it's going to be 3 quicks and a spinner or 2 spinners and 2 quicks? How do you think it's going to fall out?
No, he didn't. And, they haven't confirmed the final batting order or the final 11. So I guess we'll have to wait and see how sort of training plays out, how the pitch looks, that kind of thing. But, it will be interesting. Do they shift to their spin lineup? They've got Matthew Kuhneman in the squad, and, pitches in the Caribbean have been trending that way towards, more spin-friendly surfaces. You look at the last World Test Championship cycle and, the averages between both pace and spin bowlers for West Indies home tests, they only played 6, but the averages were quite comparable. 25.49 for pace bowlers, 26.81 for spin bowlers. Strike rate's a little bit different just because pace bowlers have taken more wickets, bowled more overs. But spinners are going at an economy rate that's half a run less per over than pace bowlers. So it is quite interesting to see how that's shifted over the years. Back in the glory days of West Indies, it was all about the quicks, but it's slowly sort of trending towards the spinners. With you get flat surfaces, and due to the dry conditions, they sort of deteriorate across the match. So it will be interesting to see what is served up in Barbados and for the rest of the series.
Yeah, just looking ahead at the West Indies Test squad and who they've selected, I reckon it looks likely that they're going to go with their 3 quicks. They've got 1 spinner in Jamal Warrican, and then obviously Roston Chase, the captain, is a very competent off spinner in himself. So I reckon they'll go with the 3 and 1 plus Chase, and Australia could do the same because they've got Travis Head, who we know is pretty handy with his off spin, but also Bo Webster can bowl spin. So I reckon having those 2 spin options does give the Aussies the option to use the 3 quicks, in my opinion.
Yeah, and if you look at their last tour here, that was over a decade ago and has changed a little bit since then. But the 3 bowlers that were the top wicket takers for that series were all fast bowlers: Josh Hazlewood, Mitchell Starc, and Mitchell Johnson. So that certainly worked for them then. It worked for them the series before in 2012, and then you keep going further back, and you've got Glenn McGrath, Jason Gillespie, and Brett Lee. They've all had success here. So it's kind of one of those intriguing subplots of the series, I think, as to whether, we've heard all about spin sort of coming to the fore in the Caribbean, whether it's, a bit of a myth or whether it is actually something that can be utilised.
So the West Indies, they have made some changes to their test squad. In fact, they've only retained 4 players from the Gabba Test that won that famous match in Australia 18 months ago. Craig Brathwaite, the 2 Josephs, Alzari and Shamar, and Justin Graves. The rest are new players, Jack. Anybody in particular that you're looking forward to seeing in this Windies squad?
Well, I think Shy Hope is the big one for me. He's spent almost 3 years out of the Test side. He's the captain of the white ball sides, T20 and ODI, and you know, sort of comes back into the side on a few handy performances for the white ball teams. Nothing sort of groundbreaking, but I guess they're moving away from Joshua De Silva in that spot because he was omitted from the squad. So yeah, I'm interested to see how Hope does. Very flamboyant attacking batter, so I think he could really take the game up to the Australians.
That's a bit of a theme of this squad, actually. Brandon King, he's known as a bit of a white ball specialist, but he's in as well. And Casey Carty, he'll be their number 3, I reckon. He's coming off scores of 170 against Ireland and 103 against England in ODIs in just the last month. So look out for Casey Carty. Great name, and he's in good form as well. Jack, have you settled into Barbados okay? Everything going all right there in the Caribbean, mate?
Going really well. Had a run and swim along the beach this morning. Was beautiful. And then got myself a little fish cutter for lunch. So that was very tasty as well. All the Aussie players are enjoying the Cousins fish stand down there as well. So they'll be back for lunch every day up until the test, I reckon. And he'd be doing a roaring trade because we've got 4 cricket teams staying at this hotel at the moment. We've got the West Indies men's and women's team, Australia, and the South Africa women's team. So everyone sort of heads down there for a bit of a bite and a bit of a swim. So yeah, the atmosphere is great here. There's music playing every night. So settled in really well.
Yeah, it's pretty much a rite of passage, isn't it? That Cousins fish shop that all the cricketers talk about when they stay in Barbados. Just one guy making fish burgers day after day. So very impressive stuff, and good to hear that you're enjoying the local cuisine as well, mate.
He does a roaring trade, that's for sure. When I was down there, in the line in front of me was all the bowling cartel. We had Nathan Lyon, buying some fish burgers for Scotty Boland, Mitch Stark, and Josh Hazlewood. So they were all there tucking in. Bo Webster came along shortly after that. So yeah, everyone loves it down there.
Good to hear, mate. Now we'll be checking in with you at Stumps after every day's play of this Frank Worrell Trophy series, starting with this Barbados Test match and going right through until the day-nighter at Sabina Park in Jamaica. So make sure you're subscribed to the Unplayable Podcast wherever you like to listen. And Jack, we look forward to catching up with you after day 1 of the first test.
We do. And for all those who are keen to, brave the middle of the night in Australia, they can catch it on ESPN, which is also available on Disney+, Kayo Sports and Foxtel. So a bit of a change of broadcaster for this series. But if you want to watch it, that's where to go.
Good stuff, mate. Appreciate the update, and we'll talk to you soon.